Hey, this is Nick the Mining Book Guy. Today I want to talk about bubbles. Not just financial bubbles, but just like bubbles in general. This goes beyond mining books. It's definitely an area I'm really fascinated in. I actually want to do a shout out to Fabi at the Next Big Rush YouTube channel. She did a pretty cool video that talked a little bit about the theory behind bubbles. Take a look at that now. I'll put a link up, or take a look at it, after you watch this video. That is very complementary to what I'm going to describe here, which is a bunch of books that I've read that involve bubbles. I'm going to try to go through these, at lightning speed, and I will go through some of these books in individual videos afterwards, but this is just to give you an idea of what you can read, and I think picking up any of these books would be good for you. Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds by Charles Mackay. This one's a classic. I have not read the whole thing. You can see it's very thick. A lot of people know about some of these bubbles. John Law, Mississippi Bubble, the South Sea Bubble, Tulip Mania. These are classics, but I don't think they're completely relatable today. Definitely worth checking out, but older type of book. Manias, Panics, and Crashes, History of Financial Crises, Charles P. Kindleberger. This one, there's a ton of editions of it. I would recommend looking at it. It is a little tougher, a little more theoretical, but also in that classic section. Here's one that's a little different. Mobs, Messiahs, and Markets by William Bonner, Leela Rajiva. This was my favorite Bill Bonner book. I think I will go through that in the future. Different type of bubble book, but that's one that's fun to read. Another one that I would recommend. Markets, Mobs, and Mayhem, Robert Menschel. This one's less well known. There's good reasons to look for the less well-known ones. I'll point those out in a few of these other ones. Devil Take the Hindmost, Edward Chancellor. This one is a better version, in my opinion, of those first two. I think this was more of a classic type book, but it was only written 15 or 20 years ago. Definitely the best example of following the Japanese bubble in the late 80s. Short History of Financial Euphoria, John Kenneth Galbraith. This one is very short. You can see, very thin. Worth taking a look at, but again, not as approachable in terms of being a modern book. But we're getting into my three favorites back here. Money Mania, Booms, Panics, and Busts from Ancient Rome to the Great Meltdown, Bob Swarup. This is very recent. This is not the best one to start with, but if you've read some other bubble books, highly recommend you read this one. Just a very different view. But now, in terms of getting to very specific, focuses, Mint Condition, How Baseball Cards Became an American Obsession, Dave Jameson. So I actually am just finishing this up right now, but you're applying it to baseball cards. It absolutely works. I think it'll be a lot more relatable to people, my age or a little younger, but really this is the best one. The Great Beanie Baby Bubble. I'm absolutely going to make another video on this. This is Zach Bissonette. This just only came out a year ago. I wish I read it right away. This is the closest thing to like the Tulip Mania. If you want, one book that's going to just kind of give you an idea of how silly a bubble can be, but still how important it is, check out the Beanie Baby book. But I will have another video on that and probably on a few of these others. You have to understand bubbles to really get a good idea of where, the junior markets and just stock markets and real estate and all this other stuff, how that stuff works. Take a look at some of these books, and you'll learn over time. All right, thanks. Nick the Mining Book Guy. Please like, share, and subscribe.